I'm Jasmine Miller, 31 years old, living and working in Denver, Colorado. I'm the head of marketing at a fast-growing tech company with a six-figure salary, a nearly paid-off house, and an emergency fund that could comfortably cover 6 months of expenses if I ever lost my job. But that doesn't mean I'm truly free. Not when my entire family treats my wallet like a faucet they can turn on whenever they feel it's necessary. My family isn't poor, they just lack discipline and have an excess of delusion. My father, Ronald Miller, used to be a long-haul truck driver until a minor injury pushed him into early retirement. Since then, he stayed home investing online, which really means placing sports bets all day. My mother, Sandra, works part-time at a small bookstore, but most of her time goes into writing dramatic Facebook posts and defending my father's behavior. My younger sister, Brittany, is 4 years younger than me. She dropped out of college in her sophomore year and has bounced through more than 7 different jobs in just 3 years. None of them kept her for more than 6 months. I've been different from the start. When my dad bought lottery tickets instead of paying the power bill, I quietly collected cans to sell. When Brittany tore up her test and blamed the teacher, I stayed up late studying under a flickering desk lamp. In college, I applied for scholarships myself and held down 2 jobs at the same time so I wouldn't have to depend on anyone. I didn't have time to fail. Failure simply wasn't an option. I started working at 22. Just a few weeks into my first real job, my mom called me crying. "Your dad lost money in a bad investment and we're behind on rent. Can you send $1,200 just for now?" I transferred the money that same day. After that, the urgent help calls and texts became regular, like scheduled appointments. Sometimes it was car repairs, other times medical bills, or last-minute must-haves before Brittany's job interviews. I sent the money without asking questions. They always promised to pay me back once things got better, but not once did they follow through. I had become their unconditional provider, not just financially, but emotionally, carrying the guilt every time I even considered saying no. They never said, "Can we ask for your help?" Instead, they'd say things like, "Families are supposed to help each other," and if I hesitated, Brittany would throw it in my face. "You make over $100,000 a year and you're stingy with your own family?" Every holiday, I was the primary sponsor. Last Thanksgiving, I spent over $2,600 covering airfare, booking a hotel nearby since their house was too messy for me to stay in, buying groceries for the week, and getting gifts for everyone. From a monogram jacket for my mom to a brand new gaming console for Brittany. No one said thank you, but they flooded social media with photos captioned, "Best family ever!" To them, I wasn't a person, I was a walking bank account, a living ATM, a shadow that could be steered with a few well-placed lines like, "You've always made us proud." I started to feel suffocated, but I didn't dare speak up. Not when my dad called only to ask, "So, when's the next transfer?" Not when my mom said, "You don't want this family to fall apart over something small, do you?" And definitely not when Brittany snapped, "If you're not going to help, then don't bother coming back." I lived like that for nearly 8 years. I still remember that summer when I was 27. Brittany called me at 6 a.m. sobbing. "I don't know what to do anymore. The landlord said they'll call the police if I don't pay rent before Friday." I was getting ready for a big product pitch at the office, a presentation that could have landed me a promotion to regional director. But the only thing I could hear was Brittany's tearful, guilt-laced voice. I withdrew $1,400 from my savings and sent it to her within 15 minutes. I don't even remember how that presentation went, only that my name never came up in any leadership meetings afterward. Situations like that weren't rare, they were a constant part of my life. Every season brought a new script. Spring, Brittany got her laptop stolen at the mall. I bought her a new MacBook. Summer, my mom said she had persistent headaches and might have a brain tumor, but no insurance. I covered nearly $2,800 in medical bills, only to find out the diagnosis was mild stress, recommended rest, and less Facebook. Fall, my dad called, speaking quietly about getting into a little trouble with sports betting, but he was sure he'd win it back. I knew he was gambling online. I also knew the pattern: hesitation, vague words, followed by sudden indignation. "Who paid your internet all those years in college, huh? Remember that?" Oh, I remembered. just like I remembered how he once used my student ID to take out a payday loan when I was 16. One time I said no because I needed to save for my first vacation in 4 years. Brittany texted, "You're so selfish. You have everything, and we're out here struggling every day." My mom messaged separately, "I'm not forcing you, but I did change your diapers 100 times. I'm only asking for help this once." Every request came wrapped in emotion, fear, desperation, guilt. And if I didn't respond quickly, they'd let silence do the talking. That silence suffocated me more than any complaint ever could. I tried setting conditions. I told Brittany if she really wanted to go back to school, I'd pay tuition once she emailed me her grades. Less than a week later, she sent a blurry screenshot with no heading or verification. I looked up the school. She hadn't registered for any classes. I once brought up the idea of my dad quitting gambling. He exploded, slammed the table, and shouted, "I don't need my daughter lecturing me. I'm the one who gave you life, not someone asking for handouts." I used to think that if I helped just once more, things would improve, but the more I gave, the more I disappeared. I was no longer Jasmine, the girl who loved reading, camping, and once dreamed of opening a bookstore in Boulder. I was just the name on the bank account that made the transfers. One time, Brittany sent me a birthday gift wish list full of expensive cosmetics and designer handbags. When I gave her a personalized notebook and a handwritten card instead, she didn't even say thank you. 2 weeks later, she sent me a link to a Coach bag worth $380 with the note, "The gift you got me didn't really fit. This one's prettier." I laughed, the kind of laugh that echoes emptiness. It's been over 8 years since I started making those first transfers. To this day, not once has anyone in my family offered a genuine thank you or apology. They call it duty. They say, "Your sister needs you." They repeat, "Family is where you turn when you need help." But who do they turn to? And who do I get to turn to? I used to think I was strong, but eventually I realized I was just a daughter who had become very good at enduring and paying. Every month, I spent an average of $3,200 on them. No one ever asked if I was okay. No one knew I had sleep issues. No one cared that I never dared to take a long vacation for fear of missing a transfer deadline. I started feeling drained after my 30th birthday, not because of age, but because every time I opened my wallet, it felt like I was losing a part of myself. I had gotten used to shouldering all the costs, but it was time to ask, who's shouldering me? I saw a therapist after nearly fainting in a meeting following 3 nights without sleep. Dr. Howard Levin, a gray-haired man with calm eyes, didn't jump straight into questions about work or success. He simply asked, "In your family, who usually receives the money?" I answered without hesitation, "Pretty much all of them." "And who's the only one who's never been asked, 'Are you okay?'" I smiled and tilted my head. The months of therapy didn't change me with cliches, but rather with Dr. Howard's silence as I listed out in my own voice everything I'd done for my family over the past decade. Even I was startled hearing it back. Then he asked, "If a friend told you exactly what you just described, what would you tell them?" I didn't hesitate. I'd tell them to stop immediately. He nodded. No need for more words. The next week, I sat in my living room under warm amber lighting. My oak table held my laptop video call app open. My mom, dad, and Brittany were all in the waiting room. I clicked join. "Sweetheart," my mom chirped first. "I saw that cream-colored purse you carried last time. So pretty. Where'd you get it?" "You bought that with your bonus, right?" Brittany jumped in, unable to hide the jealousy. "Must have been, what, $500? I didn't smile. "Everyone, I need to say something serious today." Silence. My dad squinted, my mom froze mid-sip of tea. Brittany folded her arms, leaning back like she was bracing for an argument. "I'm not going to keep sending money every month." "Jasmine," my mom frowned, "are you joking?" "No, Mom, this is a carefully thought-out decision. I won't be covering the electric bill, medical expenses, or holiday gifts anymore. I'll help if it's a real emergency, but I need to keep money for my own life." My dad gave a short laugh and shook his head. You've been listening to some bored therapist again, huh? I looked straight at the screen. It's not about listening to someone else. For the first time, I'm listening to myself. Brittany scoffed and shook her head. So, you're abandoning the whole family over some self-help nonsense? Then don't blame us if we start being real, too. My heart pounded, but I stayed calm. You've been real for a long time, you just never dealt with the consequences. My mom cut in, pleading. Jasmine, families don't keep score like this. You know your dad's in deep with a betting debt, and Brittany's about to get kicked out if she doesn't pay this month. Mom, I spoke slowly. If I hear the same story every month, it's no longer an emergency, it's a pattern, and I refuse to keep enabling it. My dad's face turned red. He slammed the table. Who do you think you are? You wouldn't have made it through school if we didn't support you. Your mom skipped meals so you could study. Yes, I nodded. And now she's still sacrificing to support Brittany, who buys Coach bags and posts party pictures every week. Brittany shot up from her chair, voice shrill. How dare you say that? I'm your sister. Exactly, I said, which is why I tolerated this for nearly a decade. My mom's eyes welled up. My dad lit a cigarette, his hands trembling. Brittany left the call without a word. I exhaled. I'm not cutting you off. I'm setting boundaries. If someone genuinely needs me and takes responsibility, I'm still here. But if all you want is money, then I'm no longer available. Silence on the screen. I left the call, sitting quietly in my apartment, feeling both lighter and heavier all at once. On December 12th, exactly 2 weeks before Christmas, a message from my mom popped up in our family group chat. Sweetheart, looks like we'll have to cancel Christmas this year. Your dad has racked up too much credit card debt, and I need to pay for health insurance. It breaks my heart to say this, but we simply can't afford to celebrate. Right after that, my dad sent another message, in his usual dramatic tone. We'd rather keep our dignity than pretend everything's fine just to rely on you. Let's skip this year. Maybe we'll try again next time. Brittany chimed in too, like a lead actress in a tragedy. I've been crying for over an hour. Christmas is what I look forward to most. I guess I'll just pick up an evening shift at the store to get through it. I stood in the kitchen, holding my phone and a cup of hot cocoa that had started to cool. Outside, snow was falling lightly, like powdered sugar. Part of me felt relieved. No need to carry an entire holiday for 3 fully grown adults. No need to buy a tree, hire decorators, or hear Brittany complain that the gift wrapping doesn't have any vibe. But another part of me felt hollow. I was still that daughter, still hoping that maybe, just this once, the family would come together for love, not for anything else. I replied, "It doesn't have to be big. I can bring some food and a few small gifts." My mom answered almost immediately. No, Jasmine, your dad already said no. He doesn't want Christmas to feel like a charity handout. We appreciate the thought, but no. My dad added, we're adults. We have to take responsibility. Don't keep thinking you're here to rescue everyone. I reread that last sentence. My eyes burned, not because they refused me, but because for the first time they were refusing the help, not me as a person. I spent the next 2 days thinking. Then over the weekend, I drove out to buy a few gifts. No iPads or smart speakers like last year. I picked simple, thoughtful things. A chestnut-colored scarf for Mom, a watch repair kit for Dad, an old hobby he had once abandoned, and a gift card to a beauty store for Brittany. I also baked a batch of gingerbread cookies and picked up a bottle of red wine from my favorite neighborhood shop. On the morning of December 23rd, I packed everything neatly into a handled basket, wrapped it with care, and included a note. This isn't pity, just a bit of holiday spirit. Whether you want to see me or not, I still love you. I texted them before heading over. I'm about to stop by. No need to open the door if you're busy. I'll just leave the gifts on the porch. The response came so quickly, I had a hard time believing it. Dad's gonna look at a house last minute. Mom's at the pharmacy picking up medicine for him. Brittany has an evening shift, might not be home tomorrow either. Can just leave them outside. My heart stalled. I glanced at the family location sharing app I'd once set up for picking Brittany up during college. All 3 icons were in the same place, right at their house. I didn't say another word. I drove around the block, stopped at the end of the street, and hesitated, watching through the bare trees. Their windows were glowing with light, but the curtains were tightly shut. I didn't knock, I didn't ring the bell. I gently placed the basket on the porch steps, stepped back a few feet, and looked at the house one more time before heading back to my car. That night, I couldn't sleep. I played Christmas music, poured myself a small glass of wine, and sat beside the tree in my apartment. No one called, no one messaged to say thank you, not a single word. Just a long, quiet evening, and in that silence, I tried to comfort myself. Maybe they just need time to accept that I've changed. That Christmas Eve, Denver was so cold that every breath turned to mist when I stepped onto the balcony. Inside my small apartment, the tree lights blinked steadily, their glow reflecting off the glass of wine in my hand. I was curled up on the couch, watching The Holiday for the third time that week, trying to convince myself that a quiet Christmas was exactly what I needed. My phone buzzed. A notification from Instagram popped up. Ridium_Campbell just went live. Bye. I blinked. Brittany, going live on Christmas night? During her supposed evening shift at the store? Curiosity outweighed suspicion, and I tapped the screen. It took a few seconds for the video to load. When it did, I instantly froze. Brittany stood in the middle of a brightly lit room. Not a store, definitely not some cramped apartment corner. It was my parents' living room, but no longer the dated house I remembered. The old sofa had been replaced by a sleek leather set. Wreaths hung on the walls, LED string lights framed the windows. A towering Christmas tree reached the ceiling, decked out in glass ornaments and red satin ribbon. "Merry Christmas, everyone! Look how amazing our party is!" Brittany beamed as she spun the camera around. On screen appeared a long table draped in white cloth, holding a full roasted turkey, tiered desserts, cured meats, imported cheese, and red wine. It looked like a banquet straight out of a fine dining restaurant. A man in headphones was DJing in the corner, casting colored lights onto the walls. My eyes widened. My heart felt like it had been crushed in a fist. "This is the no-budget Christmas my parents said they couldn't afford," Brittany laughed. She turned the camera toward my parents, both dressed in new outfits. My mom wore red lipstick and had her hair salon curled. My dad held a glass of whiskey, arms slung over Uncle Wade from Kansas, the same one they claimed couldn't visit because of money problems. "Mom, say something to everyone," Brittany chirped. "Merry Christmas! Thank you all for coming," my mom waved, smiling. My dad added, "Gathering with real family is what matters. Who needs anyone else, right?" I sat frozen. Brittany was still giggling, then suddenly tilted her head and leaned in close to the camera, whispering, "Shh, don't tell Jasmine, okay? She thinks we're broke. Let her believe that." The line was followed by loud laughter. Someone off screen joked, "As long as the money keeps flowing into the account, let her keep thinking that." I don't remember how I managed to breathe as I ended the live stream. My fingers trembled so badly I nearly dropped the phone. A storm brewed inside me, fury, shame, disbelief, and a pain so sharp it left me numb. I stood up, stepped outside onto the balcony, and opened the door. The icy wind slapped my face like it was trying to jolt me awake. I reopened Instagram, this time checking Brittany's profile. Her old stories appeared. 3 days ago, a photo of freshly done nails, captioned, "A little reward for hard work." 2 days ago, shopping bags from luxury brands, captioned, "Retail therapy." Yesterday, in a salon, rollers in her hair, captioned, "Getting ready for a magical night." No sign of any financial hardship. I kept going, this time checking my mom's Facebook, pictures of gift boxes with gold ribbon, a short video of my dad inspecting wine bottles, a post from 3 days earlier. Christmas is when we choose who truly deserves a place in our lives. I nearly laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was all so brazenly cruel. I opened my banking app and scrolled through transaction history. $3,200 sent to my parents on December 1st. Year-end expenses. $450 to Brittany on December 7th. Heater, prepare. A series of utility bills, insurance payments, all covered by me. I scrolled slowly. Each transaction cut like a knife. Every dollar had been signed with trust, and now each one stood as evidence of a carefully staged performance. I set the phone down on the table. No tears, no screaming, just stillness like stone. And for the first time in my life, I stopped making excuses for them in my head. I didn't sleep through Christmas night anymore. At 1:27 a.m., I was still sitting motionless on the floor, my back resting against the base of the couch, laptop open in front of me with tabs for my bank account and Instagram. Silent Night played softly from the Bluetooth speaker. The melody that once brought comfort now only deepened the hollow space in my chest. I began screenshotting clips from Brittany's live stream. The dinner table, the cruel jokes, my mother's radiant smile as she said, "We don't need anyone else." The expensive wine glass in my father's hand. And Brittany's wink as she whispered, "Don't tell my sister." Every image was proof, not just of lies, but of their deliberate exclusion of me from family life, while using my money to fund that very celebration. Next came the bank statements. I downloaded the past 12 months, printed them, and marked every transaction linked to my parents and Brittany in red pen. They made up over 40% of my personal spending for the entire year. I created a spreadsheet, columns for recipient name, reason, date, and amount. The total came to more than $36,000 just this year. At 7:18 a.m., my phone lit up, a text from my father. "Jasmine, this morning I need you to send $3,800 to cover the overdue rent. The landlord says it must be paid by noon or we'll face penalties. Please help, like always." Like always? I stared at the words, and my hands didn't shake anymore. I typed, slow and steady, not adding or removing a single word. And delete my number. Then I hit send. After that, I opened my contacts, blocked my father, blocked my mother, blocked Brittany, blocked the cousin who once texted me, "You're doing the right thing helping the family." I revoked access to the secondary bank account I had once let my mother use to pay bills. I canceled all automatic transfers, changed passwords for every financial app, enabled two-factor authentication, set up credit fraud alerts at all 3 major credit reporting agencies. At 10:30, I called Hannah, the family finance attorney I'd worked with years ago when Brittany had a lease dispute. I summarized the situation in a tone as flat as if I were reading a report. "Jasmine, do you need me to take immediate action?" Hannah asked. "No, not yet. I just want to begin building a legal file in case I need it. I have the evidence and statements. For now, I want to ensure no one in my family can access my financial or property information." Smart and cautious. "Do you want to draft a new will? Update retirement fund beneficiaries?" "Yes, remove all of them." I hung up. My head felt lighter, but my chest still heavy. I opened the window and took a long breath. Snow was still falling, thin, like a curtain. Enough to blur, but not to hide. That afternoon, a Venmo notification popped up. Payment request for $1,100 from Brittany. Note, "Do you feel noble now?" I reported the transaction as harassment, then deleted the app. My mom called from an unknown number. I didn't answer. She left a 90-second voicemail, her voice catching near the end. "I don't know what made you change like this, but I hope you're not planning to turn your back forever." I listened to the whole thing, but didn't respond. I just saved the audio file into a folder titled Family Archive, Do Not Reopen. That evening, I went to the bank in person and closed the credit card my father once shared. The clerk asked for a reason. I simply said, "I no longer want anyone but me to have the power to hurt me with my own money." That night, I rebaked the cookies I'd originally planned to bring to the house, not to eat, just to put an end to a tradition that hadn't yet begun. I let them cool, then tossed each one into the trash. Only then, standing there in the quiet kitchen, did I realize how long I had stayed silent. From now on, I would choose boundaries over endurance, and if the price of that was a solitary holiday season, then it was one I was willing to pay. Just 2 days after Christmas, my personal phone and work email started buzzing nonstop like an unexpected storm. Messages poured in from unknown numbers, distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years, and even old high school classmates whose faces I barely remembered. The content echoed like a scripted chorus. Jasmine, are you okay? I heard you're under serious stress. Joss, your parents are panicking. How could you do this during the holidays? I always knew your job was stressful, but turning your back on your family is a bit much. I sat in silence, reading every line, realizing Brittany and my parents had already flipped the script. No longer the freeloaders throwing a secret party behind my back. They were now the helpless family, abandoned by a successful daughter gone rogue, unhinged and influenced by a therapist. I opened Facebook. On my mother's timeline was a long status update that began, "When you teach your child to sacrifice, but they grow up and choose selfishness instead." Below were comments from her friends, names I'd known since childhood. "Jasmine's been away too long, probably forgot her own blood. Someone needs to pull her back before she spirals. We'll be praying for her." I didn't respond. I didn't argue. Not one word to defend myself, but inside something cracked. Not from pain, but from a painfully clear realization. Not only did they feel no remorse, they were willing to make me the villain to protect their image. On the morning of December 29th, I was preparing a quarterly presentation when the front desk buzzed my office. "Jasmine, there's a woman named Sandra Miller downstairs saying she's your mother. She says it's urgent." I froze. "Is she alone?" "No, she's with a younger blonde woman. Might be your sister." I exhaled and clenched my fists. "Tell them I'm unavailable for visitors. If necessary, call security." 30 minutes later, an email from the receptionist arrived with a photo of a note they left behind, a short handwritten message. "We don't understand why you're treating us like strangers. Don't hurt your family over a passing anger." I saved the photo, then deleted the email. That evening, I got a call from Lauren, a former coworker in New York from my last company. "Jasmine, are you okay?" Brittany messaged me saying you've had a breakdown and lost financial control. "Do you need any help?" I paused for a few seconds. "I'm perfectly fine, Lauren, but thank you for calling directly. It shows you're someone I can trust." So they're lying? Not lying, intentionally distorting. I began combing through my contacts, phone, social media, email. Anyone who had shared my mother's post or messaged me with a tone of passive-aggressive concern went straight to my block list. I didn't need people who only believed half the truth. In my therapy sessions with Dr. Howard, I started being more open. No more hiding, no more justifying. I don't know if I've been too cold, cutting them off like that. Cold is distance. What you're doing is protecting your mental health. No one has the right to use the word family as an excuse to hurt you. During the first week of January, Brittany sent me a new connection request on LinkedIn with a message. "If you don't send this month's money, I'm actually getting kicked out. It's your call." I didn't reply, but I took a screenshot and forwarded it to Hannah, my lawyer. "Send me the past transfer history too," she said, "so if they keep threatening, we can build a financial harassment case." I did it without a second thought. A week later, my father called from an unknown number and left a single voicemail. "I'm begging you this one last time. Send $2,000 to save the house. After this, I swear I'll never bother you again." I deleted the message, then logged into my bank account and checked my records. The amount I had sent them over the past 3 years could have bought a small house in the suburbs. For the first time in years, I slept through the night without dreaming of bills, my dad asking for money, or Brittany screaming at me over the phone. I know this journey isn't over, but at least now I've stepped out of the cycle of guilt and manipulation. February passed in an eerie kind of silence. No more texts, no more unknown number calls, no more vague check-ins through old acquaintances. I was stunned by the quiet, a stillness I hadn't experienced in over 10 years. At first, I kept bracing for the next call, like someone who's been lied to for so long they can't trust peace. But eventually, I grew used to the silence, and slowly, I began learning how to live without guilt attached. I started cooking every night, not to save money, but to savor the experience. Dishes I had always wanted to try. Italian soup made with red wine, chia seed bread, pan-seared salmon with passion fruit sauce. Many turned out terribly, but standing in my own small kitchen, free from judgment or demands, gave me a strange kind of freedom. I signed up for a Saturday yoga class at a small studio in Highlands. The instructor, Nora, was a brown-skinned woman in her 50s who had been through divorce and bankruptcy, but always smiled with her eyes. After a few classes, I began staying afterward to chat with the other students, people who were also learning how to live for themselves without apology. Then one day, I was reading at a sidewalk cafe and struck up a conversation with an older woman named Janet, a retired nurse after 35 years. She told me about her time caring for cancer patients and how she lost contact with her son over money. She smiled, sipped her tea, and said softly, "I lost the child born from my body. Now I'm looking for children from the heart." I smiled, surprised by how her words struck something deep within me. A family, not by blood, but by choice. From then on, I spent Wednesday afternoons at a women's support center in Aurora, helping young women in crisis. I shared tips on managing finances and how to protect against financial abuse within families. I told parts of my story, no names, no specifics, but enough that someone in the room might recognize themselves. One of them, Haley, 26 years old, a single mom of two who had lived in her car for almost 3 months, hugged me after the 4th session and said, "You showed me that setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's self-protection." I hugged her back, and for the first time, my tears weren't out of anger or grief. They came from knowing I'd done something right. In March, I used the money I used to send home to book my first trip in 5 years, a short getaway to Oregon. I rented a wooden cabin at the forest's edge, woke to the sound of wind, and slept in total silence. No phone ringing, no constant emergency to brace for. On the last night there, I received an unexpected email. Just the subject line, "Kiddo, I need to talk." Sender, Ronald Miller. It took me a moment to open it. Inside was a long message explaining a $27,000 debt about to go into foreclosure on the old house. He wrote, "I have no one else to turn to, just this once. Help me and I swear I'll never ask again." I stared at the words like they came from a distant past. No anger, no pain, just clarity. I replied simply, "I can't help, but I hope you find a way to stand on your own. If you and Mom truly want to rebuild things, I can refer you to the therapist who helped me, but only on one condition. No money involved." 3 days passed. He didn't reply, but I saw that he'd read it. I returned to Denver and resumed my new life. Breakfasts with the yoga group, Sunday book chats with Janet, teaching Haley how credit card interest works, learning how to make almond yogurt at home. I lost a family, but I found a community. Mid-epilogue, I had dinner at Janet's house. She served the same stew she used to make for her son when he was little. "Tonight I made it for you," she said, "because you deserve to have someone cook for you without expecting anything in return." I didn't respond right away. I just picked up my fork, took a bite, and smiled. This is the first time I've eaten a family meal without feeling like I owe someone. I know the road ahead is still long, but this time I'm walking it on my own feet, unchained from guilt, obligation, or twisted versions of love. Because I've learned one thing, real love doesn't demand unconditional sacrifice. It's built on mutual respect. And family, sometimes, isn't who you're born to, but who you choose to keep. Jasmine's story is a sobering reminder that sometimes the deepest pain doesn't come from betrayal by strangers, but from realizing your own family took your sacrifices for granted. Yet out of that hurt, she learned to set boundaries, stand firm in her worth, and rebuild her life on a foundation of genuine respect. In real life, we sometimes have to be brave enough to walk away from toxic relationships, even when they're with relatives, in order to find peace, freedom, and love without conditions. What do you think about Jasmine's choice? Would you have the courage to set boundaries with your own family? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful real life stories about family and growth.